Good evening and welcome to today's webinar, Unlock Efficiencies with a Single and Flexible Storage Architecture. This webinar is brought to you by Express Computer, powered by IBM. I'm Sudipta Dev, Senior Associate Editor with Express Computer. The increasing complexity of information technology is necessitating the need for a platform that can support every application ecosystem across on-premise environments, the edge, and hybrid cloud. This webinar will help you understand how a single platform system, IBM FlashSystem 5200, the NVMe optimized flash entry-level storage solution, can help you to seamlessly and securely manage data across your entire IT infrastructure. So sharing with you the expert knowledge on the subject are our speakers for the day: Eric Herzog, Vice President of Business Development and Evangelism and VP of Global Storage Channels, IBM Storage Systems. Eric's responsibilities include worldwide business development, press and analyst relations, go-to-market, and evangelism for IBM's award-winning family of storage systems, software-defined storage and converged infrastructure, as well as responsibility for global storage channels. In conversation with him is Siddesh Nayak, Country Leader, Storage and Software-Defined Infrastructure Solutions, IBM India and South Asia. Siddesh oversees the business of the complete range of IBM storage and software-defined infrastructure solutions in the India, South Asia region for clients from a diverse set of industries. Before I hand over to them, I'll go over the webinar rules. So this is an audio and video webinar being broadcasted live and will be available as on demand. We will have a round of Q&A at the end of the webinar. However, you can send in your questions anytime during the webinar using the Q&A text box. If you face any technical issues, please try to refresh your browser or else reach out to our team using the same questions text box. If you have any questions unanswered, we will connect with you after the webinar through email to answer the same. And there is a survey form. This will appear in your browser once the webinar ends. We sincerely appreciate your feedback. So that's all from my side now. Without taking any more of your time, I invite Siddesh to take the session forward. Over to you, Siddesh.
Hey, thank you, Sudipta. A very, very warm welcome to our Global Storage CMO and VP of Global Channels, Eric Herzog, and a very warm welcome to all the attendees. Thank you for joining us today evening. I hope all of you are doing good and are safe and healthy. The last 1 year has been one and a half years has been a tough year for all of us. The pandemic has taken a toll on our professional lives. It has taken a toll on our personal lives. But one thing that really stands out from the pandemic era perspective is the digital transformation has picked up pace. Clients have actually pressed onto the accelerator on their digital journey. And this is not only to stay afloat in these digital times, but it has become a mainstay for the business to thrive. So if we really look at the complexity that goes into this digital journey and the infrastructure, underlying infrastructure requirements that are needed to keep up pace with this digital journey. I want to go back to you, Eric, as in your role as the CMO and the Global VP of Channels. You interact with a large set of clients across the world. Could you share with us your experiences on the digital journey of the clients over the last one and a half years, the pandemic period? What have you seen and what have you experienced with your clients?
Well, as you pointed out, it has dramatically accelerated. Everyone is working from home in most countries still, although some countries are coming off. Clearly, what this means is you need constant access for the employees, constant access for the customers, constant access for the partners of the company. And it doesn't matter whether you're a global Fortune 2000 to the smallest shop, everybody needs to be online, needs to be always safe, and of course, always secure. Data is the lifeblood of any company, regardless of size. And that's been a big issue. How can you make sure you have the right data security? How do you make sure you have the right availability? If your systems fail, then obviously you can't be online and your systems all go down, whether that be just for your employees or of course, those who are transacting heavy business over the net, over the networks, that's an issue as well. So the digital transformation has really accelerated. And I think the key point is it doesn't matter what size company it is, doesn't matter what country you're in, if you're not having a right digital presence and you're not transforming what you're doing inside of the company as well as outside the company, then you won't be successful even when this pandemic and recession abates.
Right, Eric. Eric, I want to delve a little deeper on this digital journey that our clients are embarking on. If I look at some of these transformation levers, and two transformation levers really stand out. One is the journey to hybrid multi-cloud, and the second is adoption of AI. Let me go on to the first transformation lever, which is the journey to hybrid multi-cloud. Now, practically every reasonably sized large enterprise or even mid-sized customers have started adopting public cloud, and not just one public cloud, but most of them have instances around multiple public clouds. They have their own private cloud on-premise plus the on-premise traditional workloads that run on-premise. Now, managing all of this through the transformation journey is a nightmare for the CIO and the infrastructure teams. So I want you to throw some light on how has IBM been working with its clients on the transformation lever around the hybrid multi-cloud as they embark on the public cloud journey, as they embark on the cloud native journey. How has IBM storage been helping their clients on this transformation lever of journey to hybrid multi-cloud?
Well, one of the good things from an IBM storage perspective is we were preaching hybrid cloud before it was popular. In fact, I've got some presentations back from the very end of 2015 that talk about IBM storage, the ideal solution for your hybrid cloud environment. So we have made sure that our technology, whether it be FlashSystems, which we recently launched globally in February, our newest versions, and are launching now in India right now after, of course, our certification process, whether it be our storage for big data and AI solutions built around our IBM Spectrum Scale and our IBM Elastic Storage System. We have always made sure that we've had hybrid cloud support. So not only do we support IBM Cloud, but we support the other clouds as well, whether that be Amazon, whether that be Google, whether that be Azure. And in fact, one thing that's very interesting when you look at data protection, how you protect your data, how you back it up, IBM's Spectrum Protect, which is our modern data protection backup product, has probably 40 small to medium, actually that's not true, it's 70 small to medium cloud providers all over the world where their engine for their backup as a service happened to be our Spectrum Protect product. So the good thing is, for those of you that are working with IBM today, or those of you that are going to be, is that we've been supporting hybrid cloud in the storage division since the very end of 2015 across the portfolio. So FlashSystem, the topic of today's meeting, but our other products as well. And we make that seamless and easy to use. So that's one of the big advantages that IBM Storage brings, is seamless integration with hybrid cloud environments. And also, as the world is moving to containers, many of the cloud environments are based off container configurations. We have seamless integration for container configuration as well, both Red Hat, of course we own Red Hat, but for anybody who uses Kubernetes, if you want to create your own, that's fine. You want to use Kubernetes, you think you have the technical resources since containers are open source, no problem. IBM Storage can work with you there. And in fact, we just released an IBM Red Book, if you will, a reference architecture about using IBM's FlashSystem, the topic of today's conversation, with VMware's Tanzu container configuration. So at IBM Storage, it's all about hybrid cloud, regardless of the vendor. Of course, we'd love you to buy IBM. As you can see, I'm wearing an IBM logo, and I clearly am an IBM shareholder. At the same time, we know that most mid to large enterprises across the globe will use multiple cloud providers, and several of the analysts that cover IT, whether they be storage analysts, cloud analysts, generic IT analysts, have pointed out that people don't use one cloud. So the good thing is with IBM storage, whether you're backing up the data, whether it's your primary data on flash systems, whether it's what you're going to be doing for big data and AI, IBM's storage solutions embrace hybrid cloud technology, and we don't care what cloud you use. Of course, hopefully you're going to use IBM Cloud as a shareholder, but if you don't, no problem. And in fact, many of our products, such as Spectrum Scale and Spectrum Protect, are available on the cloud marketplaces of other clouds that are not IBM logoed, such as Amazon, Google, and Azure. So whatever you need to use to keep your business up and running, IBM is all about ensuring that you're able to do that regardless of which vendor you choose for your hybrid cloud environment.
That's wonderful. So Eric, are we saying that you have the ability as IBM Storage to have seamless communication across multiple public cloud scenarios? It could be a primary on-premise, it could be a DR on an AWS or a DR on an Azure. You still have the ability to have a seamless communication going across to any of these public cloud vendors, thereby creating from a siloed approach that the client had, you are giving them an ability to really seamlessly connect across these silos that they've created for themselves.
Well, really, it's about promoting the working together. In fact, one of the unique things about IBM Flash Systems is we are the only storage supplier that works with our competitors' gear. All of our Flash System products come with our management software, Spectrum Virtualize. And Spectrum Virtualize provides enterprise class data services, such as hybrid cloud support, container support, the ability to snapshot or replicate data, the ability to encrypt data at rest, not only for IBM's Flash System products, but for over 500 different arrays that don't have IBM logos on them. So at IBM, we embrace the heterogeneity, the multi-vendor, whether that be from the cloud side, or whether that be on premises. So at IBM, we make sure that our storage works not only with our own gear, but works with our competitors as well. And in fact, many of our larger accounts have not only IBM storage, but other people's storage. And at the same time, when they can't get container support from their other vendor, Spectrum Virtualize delivers it. When they can't do hybrid cloud, Spectrum Virtualize on Flash System delivers it. So it really is a unique capability. IBM Storage is one of not only the largest storage system companies, but one of the largest storage software companies. So we sell all of our software, including our Spectrum Virtualize that comes on Flash Systems as a standalone product. If you just want to buy Spectrum Virtualize software and use it, or our Spectrum Scale software, same thing, right? We embed it inside of our storage systems, which, by the way, is unique. Many of our competitors that do have a storage system and software-defined storage actually have different pieces of code, making it more complex for you, harder to deal with. At IBM, the software that comes on our storage systems is also sold as a standalone offering. So if you wanted to, in fact, build your own storage solution by working with your favorite business partner and getting storage-rich servers and then running our software on those and turning them into, if you will, a mimic of our Flash System product, not a problem with us. So we can engage with you, whether it be from a software-only perspective or whether it be from a system perspective. But one of the unique things, again, is a Spectrum Virtualize in particular is IBM's ability to work with not only IBM's own storage technology, but our competitors as well, dramatically simplifying and helping you reduce your CapEx, your operational expenses, and of course, your management. Everyone is taxed with what's gone on with the recession and the pandemic. So how much work do you want your IT team to do? Well, if you've got one piece of software, it makes it way easier for you to run all of your storage, not just the IBM storage. And we can easily do that with Spectrum Virtualize that comes on our Flash System portfolio.
Wonderful, Eric. Eric, I want to dwell deeper on the second transformation lever, which is about adoption of AI, analytics, big data. What has been IBM Storage contribution to this transformation?
Well, at IBM Storage, we've had a great history there. If you look today at AI, big data, and analytics, What they really are is the sons and daughters of high performance and supercomputing. IBM Storage has been a dominant player in that space with our Spectrum Scale technology, our IBM Elastic Storage System, which happens to ship with Spectrum Scale, a newly announced product that's not shipping yet, Spectrum Fusion, which is a container native technology for edge, core, and cloud, focused on AI, big data, and analytic workloads, and our IBM Cloud Object Storage. We have an award-winning portfolio. We've won, I think it was in 2019 alone, for this technology, won 10 different awards across the world. And in things like the Gartner Magic Quadrant and the IDC MarketScape, our IBM Spectrum Scale has always been one of the top leaders. These are the type of application that focus on AI, big data, and analytic workloads and use cases. So we make sure that we can deliver the right solutions across the edge, the core, and the cloud. We also can handle incredible capacities. One of the things we can do, and we have customers, many customers across the world, at over an exabyte in production. No kidding, over an exabyte in production. That is a huge amount of data, all managed with one Spectrum Scale configuration or an Elastic Storage System configuration that happens to ship with our Spectrum Scale technology. So we make sure we also can work with our competitors. That's right, we have a technology known as Spectrum Discover, which has an API so that your AI software or your analytics software can use the API. It will catalog and index not only IBM's Spectrum Scale, not only IBM Cloud Object Storage, not only any object store that supports the S3 protocol, whether that be Amazon or any of the multitude of vendors that support the S3 protocol, but also filers from EMC Isilon and also from NetApp. So this allows the application to catalog and index across all those various repositories. Again, making sure we simplify things, but deliver what you need from a high performance perspective, a high availability perspective, and with ease of use, trying to help you reduce your capital expenditures and your operational expenditures for these new workloads of AI, big data, and analytics.
Eric, one more transformation lever that we've seen over the last 1 year has been around the containerization. We briefly spoke about it just a while ago. A lot of production applications have now started moving into container native application, be it the unified payment gateway or be it the digital engagement hub. There are a whole lot of banking applications that have started moving on to, and all of be it trade finance, be it master data management. And these are all production environments which are real high performant environments, which really need a high security level. It needs the availability that you typically look for in an enterprise application. So how is IBM working with clients on these containerized workloads as they move some of their core critical production workloads onto container environments?
Well, one of the key things at IBM Storage is seamless integration with container environments. Red Hat OpenShift, as I mentioned, VMware Tanzu with our FlashSystem, or if a client wants to do their own, containers are open source. If they want to use the Kubernetes management framework and do their own, that's not a problem either. So we make sure we can provide persistent storage for file, block, or object applications. Several of our applications have gone container native. Our Spectrum Discover is container native. Our Spectrum Fusion, which we just announced in April and will be shipping this quarter, also is container native and can seamlessly span edge, core, and cloud. We also make sure that we can back up container environments. So our Spectrum Protect Plus is an ideal way to back up data created in a container environment and make sure that data is always safe and reliable. For us, we just sort of see this as an evolution, okay? In the old days, all applications were bare metal, applications sitting on the server with storage attached. Then we went to the era of virtualization, whether that be VMware, Hyper-V, KVM, the Oracle Virtualization Manager, doesn't matter, and IBM Storage works with all of them. And then now you're seeing the era of containers. Again, whether that be Red Hat, whether that be generic open source, or whether that be with VMware's Tanzu, we make sure whatever you're going to use, we can work with. And we make sure that we optimize our storage around this container environment. And in fact, we do see for many customers, particularly the global Fortune 2000, 3000 all over the world, they're probably going to run in multiple environments. We have a number of banking customers all over the world that are still running many applications such as high velocity trading and others in bare metal. The application on the server, there's no virtualization layer, and there's not going to be a container layer either. So what we do is make sure that however you're going to deploy your applications, bare metal right on the server, virtualized across all the various virtualization types you can do, or containers, again, also with multiple container types. Again, we hope you buy Red Hat OpenShift, but we're integrated with VMware's Tanzu, and we're integrated and work fine if you're going to use Kubernetes as an open source place. So we see upper mid-range accounts clearly into that global Fortune. They'll probably be running applications in all three environments for the foreseeable future. And in fact, if you think about it, VMware has been around for over 20 years, and we've got plenty of applications and workloads all over the world in thousands of customers that are still sitting just on the server with no VMware or Hyper-V involved. So we make sure that however you deploy your applications or workloads, that we can support that. So on the server, of course. Virtualization across all those different virtualization suppliers, of course. Containers, same thing. Leading with OpenShift, but supporting any other container environment they may use. And again, in the bigger shops, we really do think they're going to have applications that are some will be bare metal, some will be virtualized, and some will be containerized. We make sure that IBM storage gives you the primary storage you need and also can back that data up. Once you move data into containers and you're in production, that data is real data. It's not fun data for the DevOps team and the test guys to be playing with. It's real data now. So you not only need high availability, 6 nines, 7 nines on our DS family, and our 100% availability option on our FlashSystem and our DS family. If you need that, we have several public references on IBM.com. So the availability, the unmatched performance. No one can touch the performance of IBM. On the mainframe side of the shop, we can get down to 18 microseconds of latency, which is very critical for highly transactional environments. And on our FlashSystem family, even our entry products like our FlashSystem 5200, which we announced in February, is now coming available in India. That product will do 70 mics of latency, even though it's an entry product. No other vendor can touch that. And in fact, that entry product in the non-mainframe environment, Linux, what's left of the Unix market, the Windows Server market. Again, we work with all operating systems. So off the mainframe, everything off the mainframe for flash systems, that product, the 5200, on the latency side, outperforms even the most expensive, highest end products from our competition that can cost millions of US dollars, millions, and outperforms almost every mid-range product in IOPS as well as latency, and outperforms every entry product, yet it's at an entry price point. So, we make sure we work in all the environments, and we make sure we give them the performance, the availability, and the data reliability they need, regardless of whether they're on the server, whether they're in a virtual environment or a container environment. And we've been doing that for several years now.
Wonderful. Eric, switching gears a little bit in terms of as clients deal with this complexity around bare metal, container environments, VMware environments, public cloud, how has IBM stepped in helping clients to simplify their landscape? You briefly touched upon the spiraling costs that associated with the complexity. You briefly touched upon the management challenges that come with it. Could you throw some light on how is IBM working with clients to help them simplify their storage landscape?
Sure. So I'll give you a couple examples. First one, let's talk about things in the big data and AI space. Big data and AI and analytics are characterized by petabytes to exabytes of data sets. What we do is with our Spectrum Scale and our elastic storage system, we can create a single copy of data that can span edge, core, and cloud, one extra copy for disaster recovery purposes, and that's it. And because our Spectrum Scale, as well as our newly announced Spectrum Fusion, can span all of those, we can also make it appear, if the data is really sitting in the data center, to the edge user or the cloud user with our caching technology, they think it's local to them, even though they're in a remote location at the edge or they're in the cloud. If the data is sitting at the cloud, the data center, as well as the edge, think it's sitting there. So what we can do is we're all about cutting down silos of data. A, silos of data cost a lot of CapEx. B, silos of data cost a lot of operational expense. And lastly, silos often can ruin AI or analytics. It's as if you're trying to make a decision and you don't have all the data. So if you're trying to decide buying a home or investing in a company, if you don't have all the data, you're going to buy the wrong home, or you're going to invest in the wrong company and not make money, or have a home that's, not a nice home, even though you could have bought a different house, because you don't have all the data. AI, analytics, all function that same exact way. They mimic what a human is, and that means you've got to grab data from as many sources as possible. So by having a single copy of the data in that space, and also, as I mentioned, our Spectrum Discover, able to grab data from our competitors' filers, EMC, Isilon, and NetApp, as well as from object storage, both IBM Cloud Object Storage, but S3, any S3 compatible object store, you've got tons of data sources that you can unify into a single way of truth. And with our API that's in Spectrum Discover, as well as integrated into our Spectrum Fusion announced in April, you can dramatically simplify. Now, when you're looking at primary storage in the block world, so things like databases, Mongo, Cassandra, SAP, Oracle, what you're looking for there is how can you consolidate? And what we do are a couple things. First of all, our new FlashSystem 5200 is so performant that you could take a number of entry and mid-range arrays, both ours and our competitors, and consolidate them onto a 5200. We have built-in automatic migration that's transparent to the applications and workloads. You set it and then you forget it. It'll do it all in the background on the fly, so you don't have to do anything. Also, it has a 1U high form factor. Okay, all the other solutions are either 2, 3, or 4 rack U, and you can consolidate those down. And of course, because of the performance, up to 6 million IOPS in a 4-node cluster and 70 mics of latency, you'll dramatically outperform what you're getting today on the existing entry or mid-range systems that you have. So what does that mean? A, simplifies management. B, frees up rack space. And if you're a large global enterprise, could also free up floor space. Cuts your cooling, cuts your power, cuts your operational manpower to manage that. You're managing less storage. And you can put all in a 1U configuration that's up to 1.7 petabytes in only one rack U. And you can easily create with our 5200 or 4-node cluster. So again, consolidation, eliminating multiple silos of data, giving you the availability, giving you the management infrastructure. And as I mentioned earlier, if you decide you want to keep some of those other arrays, whether they be our older arrays or our competitors' arrays, or if you've got both, with our Spectrum virtualized technology, which comes on our flash system, you can go ahead and use that to manage other people's storage. Again, all about reducing capital expenditure, operational expenditure, and manpower. As you can see, whether it be in the AI and big data space, whether it be in the more traditional database-oriented space and business application space, we are focused not only on giving you the right performance, the right availability, the right data resilience and reliability, but also dramatically reducing your manpower needs, your operational expenses, and your capital expenses. And that's what IBM is doing, not just delivering great technology, but delivering great technology that can help you better manage your overall IT business. In this case, the IT budgets, not just is it fast or is it available? Much more than that with IBM's FlashSystem technology and our products such as IBM Spectrum Scale, IBM Spectrum Fusion, and our elastic storage system.
Wonderful. Eric, you briefly mentioned about your secret sauce, which is the FCM. I want you to throw some light, share with the audience a little more about the FCM, which has been a big differentiator for the entire flash system portfolio of IBM.
Sure. Well, what IBM does is actually create its own flash modules, what we call our flash core module. We buy raw flash, the same kind of flash that's in your cell phone, or today even in a refrigerator has flash, since they all have CPUs now. If you bought a brand new refrigerator, you know what I mean. You can talk to it and it'll turn the lights on and off for you. So that same flash, industry standard, we take it and build our own flash core module. It does several things for us. One, it is the power that delivers us unmatched performance. Two, it helps us be very cost effective. Several years ago, people would have thought flash is too expensive. Well, guess what? Today, flash is the same price, if not less, than any hybrid array that you would use for your database workloads. And then on top of that, when you think of the example I just gave of consolidating multiple arrays onto a single array, because the flash core modules that are in our flash system 5200 as an example, deliver the performance, availability, and reliability, you could consolidate 10 older arrays, 8 older arrays, 4 older arrays, depending on how much capacity you've got on those arrays, into a single 5200. And if you've got a lot of them, 20 or 30, you could put them into a 4-node cluster. So that's all because of our flash core modules. It also gives us incredible capacity. Our largest flash core model is 38 terabytes, larger than anything from the industry standard that's out there. And it's custom made. We also do special things with those flash core models besides just performance and availability. For example, we have data at rest encryption with no performance penalty. So as the chief executive officer is worried about security. In fact, I'm sure you're all familiar with Fortune magazine, which is global. The Fortune magazine just came out with the US Fortune 500. The global Fortune 500 will be out in a couple months. But they did a survey of CEOs, not CIOs, not CTOs, not IT people, CEOs. The number one concern, cybersecurity. Well, with our flash core modules providing encryption at no performance penalty, boom, you've got some cybersecurity built in if someone gets in. We also do things like compression, which again, better optimizes your storage. For data that is compressible, you will buy less because the data can be compressed. And we can do that again without any performance penalty. So, you know, the arguments of why you don't encrypt, which means you're not safe from a cyber perspective, go away. But that's all built into our flash core modules. So it's really been a differentiating factor for us. And more importantly, it delivers real customer value with features and functions that other players don't have or have in a way that's much slower or inefficient. Most encryption technology, particularly when you look at the entry space, doesn't exist, or it's software based. And then the application owners will say, well, we can't encrypt because it'll slow us down. Well, the application owner, the VP of software in a big company, just the end users, the VP of manufacturing or the VP of supply chain can't complain about slow applications with IBM's flash systems using flash core modules, because that encryption is automatic and has no performance penalty. So make the CEO happy because he's concerned about cybersecurity. KPMG, the big accounting firm that also has, of course, as you know, a consulting attached to it. They also did a survey of CEOs, again, not IT, not CIOs. That was in March. And guess what? The number one concern was not recession. It was not pandemic. It was not enough trained employees, all the things that many of us would think of would be something really important. Well, guess what? It wasn't. The number one in that survey also happened to be cybersecurity. And we can deliver that with our flash core modules. Just one example of how IBM is always trying to take it to the next level to deliver not just technical value, but business value. Cybersecurity is a business statement. That's why the CEOs are so worried about it. It's not just a technology statement, use technology, but cybersecurity, it's just like, it's cyber. I mean, I know this is going to sound funny, but if you're a company, when people go home at night, do you lock the doors? Yes. Do you close the windows? Yes. Do you have alarm systems so that people don't steal property of your company? Absolutely. Well, all this is a cyber version of that. And IBM makes sure with our FlashCore models, we can help you with your cybersecurity strategy.
Wonderful. So you have a real powerhouse with 5200 in one use space with FCM, compression and encryption built in at an FCM level, capacity with your 38.4 GB FCM built in gives clients massive amount of capacity in a one use space, ability to scale horizontally as well as vertically with 4 nodes clustered together. We really have a powerhouse on the table in one use space. That space saves on rack space, saves on power, cooling, and all the benefits put together. So brilliant. One more area, Eric, I want you to touch upon is as clients embark on some of these critical applications being put on the mid-range flash systems and entry flash systems. How do we ensure that we are able to provide them data availabilities, which is unprecedented levels of data availability? What are the solutions IBM brings on the table to take the data availability to the next level?
Well, I think it's also a misnomer. The vast bulk of the world's data is not on a mainframe. So while we love mainframes at IBM, the reality is the bulk of the world's data is not sitting on mainframes. And in many companies, rightly or wrongly, they don't use mainframes, they use Linux clusters, an ideal solution for IBM FlashSystems, working for all non-mainframe operating systems. Now, we make sure that in addition to the performance we talk about, we have the availability and the reliability. So let's take an easy example. We provide 6 nines of availability. What does that mean? 6 nines of availability on flash systems is 5 minutes and 26 seconds of statistical downtime in a full year running 365 days, 24/7. That's right, 5 minutes of downtime, even in an entry product. Unheard of. Now, we also provide an additional option with our HyperSwap technology that delivers 100% availability guarantee. In fact, there are a couple public references from companies using it with our Flash System 7200 and other flash systems on IBM.com. So take a look if that's something you need. So making sure that you've got the right availability. We make sure that we have the right data resilience as well. We can always provide things like air gapping. We can do a logical air gap, which allows you to move data out to a cloud provider. That air gap can help you avoid malware and ransomware. And on July 20th, we've got some new technology coming out that will use air gap technology that you will be able to use on-prem, delivering unprecedented cyber resiliency. So if you have a malware ransomware attack, we're going to show you how you can have safe data and how you can rapidly recover from that malware or ransomware attack in hours, not days. So make sure you stay tuned to July 20th. And of course, we often will allow you to use backup, whether that's ours or not. In fact, we just announced yesterday globally an incentive where our entry flash system products are coming with our IBM Spectrum Protect Plus. This will allow you to protect and back up items and applications sitting on servers, items and applications sitting in virtual environments, and items and applications sitting in container environments. And that will be included with a limited capacity to start across our entry IBM Flash System portfolio. So we make sure we have the right availability characteristics, integration with backup, things that we can do to help you protect your data, such as encryption, such as air gapping. In fact, many of our customers still buy tape. Tape is the cheapest form of data storage you can have. And on top of that, it allows what's known as a physical air gap that can't be breached. So data sitting on a tape cartridge, which by the way, we can encrypt the tape cartridge. So if you ever lose it, the cartridge is encrypted so no one can access that. But we can provide what's known as a physical air gap, because we do logical air gapping over the cloud, and you'll see on July 20th locally. We can do physical air gapping with tape. We provide backup technology. We have encryption built right in. We have replication technology. There really are cyclones, hurricanes, tornadoes, tsunamis, and since I happen to be in California, earthquakes, and I'm coming to you live from Silicon Valley at now 5:10 a.m. in the morning. Started at 4:30 my time, your 12.5-hour difference between India and California. But all these resilient and availability technologies are built into flash systems or easily procurable with our Protect family or with our tape technology. But a ton of it is built in. So not only intrinsic data availability and reliability with 6 nines and 100% availability option, okay, but also other technologies to help you avoid malware, ransomware, malicious employees, data theft. And part of the encryption play is around data theft. People really do steal data from other companies. They really do. Now, the malware and ransomware is a different type of destruction that can approach you from a cyber perspective. But there are cases that have been public where an IT employee was paid by the competitor to steal certain technologies like designs or customer lists. Well, when it's encrypted, guess what? Can't use it. So IBM makes sure that we not only provide the availability and reliability, but the cyber and data resilience beyond just the standard availability and reliability of a storage array.
And Eric, can I infer the safeguarded copy announced that we're going to do shortly on the flash systems is going to protect even from the insider security threat that some of the enterprises are concerned about?
Well, yes, we make sure, Sidishis, that all of our technology has dual authentication already. But with what's being announced on July 20th, we will also be having a number of different admin levels as well. So again, at IBM, we're very concerned about cybersecurity. We read the same surveys you do. The Fortune 500, number one, 66%, by the way, of the CEOs surveyed, that was their number one risk, cybersecurity. Not recession, not pandemic, not enough trained employees, not supply chain issues, which of course have been all over the press, all over the world, not those issues, cybersecurity. So, with IBM storage, we can help you make sure you're not a Continental Pipeline in the US paying $4 million US, or not JBS out of Australia that paid $11 million. The University of California, San Francisco Medical Center, last summer, they paid $2 million US. We can help you avoid that. So, it's all about making sure that we help you against all potential attacks, whether it be local, aka an employee, such as the authentication capability or encrypting the data. So if someone steals the data internally and sells it to your competitor, data is not usable because it's encrypted. Or from outside attacks, malware or ransomware. And ransomware is going crazy. In fact, many governments across the world, obviously I live in Silicon Valley, so the Biden administration here in the US has advised not only all the government entities, local, national, and what we call states, and in India, I think it's provinces, but all of those government levels, please make sure you're addressing cybersecurity, but also all companies, whether you be a giant company in the Fortune 500, whether you be a mid-sized company or whether you be a small company. So, other countries have done similar. So the ransomware, the malware has gone crazy. And at IBM Storage, we make sure that we can integrate and do the right things to help you avoid malware, ransomware, or internal theft. And that's, there's things beyond just regular availability and reliability. And we cover that too. If there really was an earthquake in California right now, and you had a data center in California, you could replicate to somewhere where there isn't an earthquake. Obviously, you have earthquakes in parts of India as well. So you know what I'm talking about. So you need to replicate to another area. And in other places, they've got floods, they have tsunamis, cyclones. And of course, the number one cause of data loss is none of those things. It's still fire in a data center, even with fire suppression systems. And of course, many of the companies that are not the biggest companies don't have a sophisticated data center. So if there's a fire, there goes your data. Well, guess what? If you replicate it and snapshot it to a cloud, for example, then you're covered from a disaster perspective. So IBM makes sure all that technology is built around, whether it be cybersecurity, whether it be business continuity and disaster recovery, and whether it just be pure availability while the systems are running fine so that it's up and running, with only 5 minutes of downtime in a year. That's a pretty reliable system.
Wonderful. Thank you, Eric. Eric, on that note, we will open it up to questions. Audience, if you have any questions, please key in your questions in the Q&A section, and we'll have Eric respond to these questions. Let me get to some of these questions that I see on the Q&A chat. How compatible with OpenStack Cloud is based on CentOS 7.4?
You know, I'm not sure on that, but we'll have to get back to you on that. We, again, clearly work with the OpenShift. We do support OpenStack, but again, I'm not sure about the CentOS. So we'll take that one as an action to get back to you on that question.
Perfect. Eric, just to add to what you said, we do have a bunch of installs around OpenStack in the country. So
okay,
maybe Imran, what we could do is we could connect offline and discuss with you on the exact environment. But yes, we have some fairly large OpenStack environments. We in fact run it for one of the large e-commerce companies in the country, and it running on CentOS. So we could talk offline on this. The next question is it a concurrent user license, or is it a user based or appliance based? This is a question from Sitaraman. Sitaraman, I'm assuming you're referring to the Spectrum Virtualize, which is the storage platform or the FlashSystem platform. This is a capacity-based license. Depending on what capacity you buy, there is a Spectrum Virtualize license that gets built in with it. And of course, there are multiple other software-based, software-defined capabilities that come in with other ones that Eric spoke about, be it Spectrum Scale for your file and your AI requirements, or be it Discover for your metadata tagging and managing your data for AI. All of those are also capacity based. The next question from Chetan is what would be the prerequisite requirement for the site? From a prerequisite perspective, this is a 1U box. We could share with you the power requirements and so all you need is a rack with the right UPS built in. But we can share this with you, Chetan, the exact dimensions, weight, and the power requirements.
And it will fit in any industry standard 19-inch rack. So that would be a full rack or a half rack. There's no special requirements for depth or width. This is not a custom configuration. This is an industry standard configuration. Again, that only takes up one rack.
Right. Eric, there is another question about from Sitaraman, which is about modularity. Can it be scalable? The 5200, how does it scale?
Sure. So the 5200 can scale two ways. It can do a scale up, okay, where you're not in a cluster and you just add additional capacity. So we include that one. We also can create a 4-node cluster. So in the 4-node cluster, you can add up to 3 other. They work as a cluster, so you can get up to 6 million IOPS. Latency on each individual one is 70 mics of latency. So obviously when you create a cluster, you still have the 70 mics of latency, but you now have 6 million IOPS. An individual 5200 will be 1.5 million IOPS. As you know, latency and IOPS are the critical storage metrics you look at when you're seeing how fast you want to get block applications to go, particularly highly transactional things like an Oracle database, SAP sitting on often Oracle or something else, whether it be an open source database, the Mongos and the Cassandras, right? Databases are very sensitive to the performance of latency and of IOPS. But again, from the scalability questions, you can scale up, giving you a lot of capacity, or you could scale out, which of course means that you're clustering. When you scale up, by the way, you do not have to always use Flash. We will support a hybrid configuration Most people don't use hybrids anymore, but we do support it. So if that's something you want, then you'd have the 5200 base model would be flash, and you could actually add on in a scale up environment, industry standard SSDs, which are not as fast as our flash core modules, nor have all the features, or hard drives, and create a hybrid array that way. When you do the cluster, so when you do the scale out, it's a flash only configuration.
Thank you, Eric. So Sitaraman, you actually have a powerhouse which you can start small in one, you go up to 4 nodes clustered together to really, you can start with 1.5 million IOPS, like Eric said, get up to 6 million IOPS. This is like a entry storage with enterprise capabilities. Are there any more questions? No, I don't see any more questions. So if there are no more questions, let me thank Eric for this wonderful session. Eric, it was brilliant chatting up with you, getting your perspective on how clients have been pressing on the accelerator on their digital transformation journey, how IBM has been helping clients simplify their landscape, meet some of the critical elements of security, availability, resiliency in these tough environments. So on that note, thank you. Thank you, audience, for being a wonderful audience. And let me hand it back over to Sudipta. Sudipta, over to you.
Thank you, Eric and Siddesh, for such an interesting and informative discussion. And thanks for answering all the audience questions. That was great. So I'm sure the audience is very happy. And I'm sure many of you among the audience would like to connect with the IBM team. So you can see the contact details of Siddesh on your screen, so you can contact him directly with your requirements. Also, please do remember to fill in the survey form, as the browser closes, as you log out. So, and thank you for your interest and time, and have a great evening.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.